The DTX Pro module is very easy to find your way around. The main screen shows us what kit we're on, and if you want to change kit, you can either use the plus, minus buttons at the bottom, or the plus minus knob on the left-hand side. Here we have the kit modifiers, which allow us to dramatically change the sound of the kit by adding ambience, compression, or effects. Here we have the volume knobs, the master volume, the audio in volume, which is our auxiliary in or our USB volume, and the click volume. On the right, we have the click controls, and in the center, we have our master controls. If we want to select a kit, we simply press the white kit button. If we want to go into training, we press the training button, and if we want to go into the recorder, we press the recorder button. On the back edge, we have the trigger inputs and the master left and right outputs. And on the front edge, we have the auxiliary input and the headphone output. When you start to make your own kits, you'll also want to save them, and you will want to save them in a safe way where you don't lose any other information. This is very easy. I'm going to show you how to do it. There are two different sorts of kit. There are ones which start with P, which are presets. These are made in the factory and you cannot change them. Then there are also ones which start with U, and these are user presets. These are the ones that you have made. So let's say we are on kit P001 and we want to save it. If I press the store button, the kit will be saved into the next free location. This is done automatically by the module, but sometimes you might want to save it to another location. So on this screen, I can choose where I save it. So I'm going to save it to user kit 1. There we go. If I press store, it'll ask me if I want to overwrite, and if you see this screen, it means you're writing over something which already exists. So make sure you are copying it into the right place. And then I'm going to press yes, and the kit is stored. Now, if I want to duplicate a kit, I can do that as well. If I just press the store button and choose another location, so I'm going to choose number 2, press store, overwrite, yes. I now have 2 identical versions of the same kit, number 1 and number 2. But really, I need to rename one of them so I know what the differences are. So if I press store again on kit number 2, choose the location, which is number 2. Again, I want to save it into the same place. And then press F2 name. And then I'm just going to change the last letter from E to number 2. So I now have a difference in the name, and I know that the 2 kits are different. If I press OK, I'm happy with the location. I press store. Yes, I want to overwrite it. And so now I have 2 versions of the same kit with slightly different names. So it's very easy to save into any location, rename any kits, and make duplicates if you need to. It is very easy to change the sound of the whole pad. When you change the sound of the whole pad, you change the head and the rim at the same time. Or if you're talking about a cymbal, you change all 3 zones, the bell, the bow, and the edge. In this video, I'll change the sound of the snare drum. Firstly, hit the pad you want to change. Then press the menu button. Make sure Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Instrument is highlighted and press Enter. And then you can see the instrument that you are playing. I'm going to change it from number 1 to number 6. When you are happy with your changes, press Store and press F3 to store your kit. As well as being able to change the sound of the whole pad, you can also change the sound of each zone separately. By zone, I mean different areas on the pad that you can hit which give you a different sound. So a drum pad might have the head and the rim as different zones. So on this example, I'm going to change the sound of the rim of the snare drum, but not the head. Firstly, you need to hit the pad that you want to change. Then you press Menu, make sure that Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Then make sure Voice is highlighted and press Enter. And then you can see the sound that you are triggering. So when I hit the head of the snare drum, I'm triggering sound number 1. And when I hit the rim, I'm triggering the sound number 2. So I'm going to change just the sound of the rim from number 2 to number 5. But the head is still the same. When you are happy with your changes, press Store, choose the location you want to save it, and then press F3, and your kit is saved. It is very easy to retune a whole instrument. When you retune a whole instrument, you take all the zones, the head and the rim, or the bell, bow, or edge of a cymbal, and you repitch all of them at the same time. Let me show you how. Firstly, hit the pad you want to repitch. Then press the menu button. Make sure that Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure that Instrument is highlighted and press Enter. And then scroll down until Tuning is highlighted. Now at the moment, the snare drum and the rim sound like this. But pressing the minus button, I'm going to retune it all the way down, and both the head and the rim sound like this now. So you can very easily make pitch changes to the whole instrument. When you are happy with your changes, press Store, choose the location you want to save the kit, and then press F3, Store. Every single zone of every single pad can be tuned independently. By that, I mean we could have a snare drum sound, and we could detune the head, but keep the rim at the same pitch, or vice versa. It's completely up to you. Let me show you how to do it. It's very easy. Firstly, my snare drum sounds like this. But I'm going to detune the snare head sound and keep the rim at the same pitch. So if I press Menu, make sure that Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure that Voice is highlighted and press Enter. And then find the voice number, and I can see that the head is number 1 and the rim is number 2. Now if I scroll down to where I see Voice Tune, I can hit the head, and then I can detune the head, but I can keep the rim exactly the same pitch. So now my head sounds like this, but my rim sounds like this. When you are happy with your changes, press Store, decide where you want to save the kit, and then press F3 Store, and your kit is saved. It is very easy to dampen or muffle an instrument using the menu system. If you press the menu button, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Instrument is highlighted and press Enter. And then you can scroll down until you see Muffling. Then you can take your snare drum sound like this, and you can dampen it as much as you want. Sometimes you might want to dampen or muffle just one zone of a pad. Let me show you how to do this. At the moment, my ride cymbal rings for a long time. And I might want to dampen just the bow of the cymbal, but not the other parts of it. To do this, I press Menu, I make sure Kit Edit is highlighted, and I press Enter. I make sure Voice is highlighted, and then press Enter. And then I can see the name of the samples on each of the zones. But if I scroll down until I get to Voice Decay, I can change the decay, or the length, of just the bow of the ride cymbal. So at the moment, but if I turn this down to -16, it's much shorter. But the edge still rings. Sometimes, like for instance when you're playing on stage, you might need to adjust all your bass drums or all your snare drums at the same time. And you can do this very easily on the global mixer page. If you press F3 from the front screen, you go into the mixer, and any changes here will be copied across all of your kits. So if you were to bring down the bass drum volume, that would be reflected on all the other kits that you have. So you must remember, if you've done this, to put it back afterwards. But it's very, very useful for when you need to make global changes very, very quickly. Every single zone of every single pad on the DTX-PRO module can have up to 4 different sounds on it. You can stack sounds together and come up with big composite sounds, which can be really useful to get your sound. Let me show you how to set this up. If you press the Menu button, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted, press Enter. Make sure Voice is highlighted, and press Enter. And then on this screen is your usual voice screen, and you can see exactly the sound that you have on any particular pad. So on my floor tom pad, I have voice number 5, tom number 5. If I press F3, which is labeled TRG or trigger, a new screen is opened up, and I can see in the bottom right corner of it 4 different layers, A, B, C, and D. Now, I want to select layer B, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press F1, layer, so that B is highlighted, and then I'm going to press the padlock button. It's really important to press the padlock button, because otherwise, if you hit any other pad, all the information on the screen will change to the last pad that you hit. So it's very important to turn padlock on. Then, if you press Exit, you can now see the details for layer B, and it shows layer B in the top right-hand corner of the screen. So at the moment, there's no sound assigned to this pad on layer B. We only have the original tom sound on layer A. So I'm going to change the category from tom to cymbal. And I'm going to layer my tom sound with a 16-inch rock crash. So now, when I hit the pad, we'll have 2 sounds together. Now, this is really useful for making the sort of sounds that you need. You can put anything together. It can be any of the internal sounds or any of your own user samples. The tempo of the click can be set for any particular kit. Let me show you how to do this. If you press the Menu button, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted, press Enter, and then scroll all the way down to the bottom until you see Other, and then press Enter. Now, you can assign a tempo to this one particular kit, so that whenever you come back to this kit, the tempo is set. I'm going to set this to 120 beats a minute. Then I'm going to press Store. I'm going to choose where I want to store that kit, and then I'm going to press F3. Now, every single time I come back to this kit and press the metronome start-stop, it will be at exactly 120 beats a minute. Sometimes you might need to adjust the overall output gain of the module depending on the location or the recording equipment you're using or the stage you're on. This can be done very easily. If you press the menu button, make sure Utility is highlighted, press Enter, make sure Output Gain is highlighted, and then press Enter. And then you can adjust the output gain of the left and right master outputs, the headphone output, and also the USB audio output. And you can adjust it upwards from 0 dB to +6 to +12 to +18. So there is a lot of boost there if you need to use it. The DTX-PRO module has two audio inputs, the auxiliary input and the USB audio input, and you can route these to different places. If you press the menu button, make sure Utility is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Input-Output is highlighted and then press Enter. Then you can see the aux in and the USB audio in. I'm going to select the aux in for this, so I'm going to press F3, Enter. Then on the left of the screen I can see the auxiliary input, and on the right of the screen I can see the three different locations I can send that audio to: the headphones, the master left and right, and the USB audio. I'm going to select the master left and right, and then using the plus and the minus buttons I can disconnect the audio or connect the audio depending on what my needs are. It's very simple, very easy, and very intuitive. It is very easy to reorder all your user kits in the DTX-PRO module. This is very useful when you are going to do a gig and you want to have all your kits in the correct order. This is how you do it. If you press the menu button, make sure that Job is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure that Kit is highlighted and press Enter. And then make sure Sort is highlighted and press Enter. Then you can see all your user kits, and you can select one by pressing F3. Now, using F1 and F2, you can move it to a new location and then insert it by pressing F3. I'm going to move another kit as well. And then when you are done, you press Exit. The module reorders all the kits. You press Exit, and then you have all your kits in the new order. When the drums were recorded for the DTX-PRO module, the sound of the actual studio space where the drums were set up was also recorded, and you have complete control over this sound using the Ambience Kit modifier. The Ambience Kit modifier actually controls two different sorts of ambience. From 0 to 50% is the real ambience, the sound of the room that they were recorded in, and from 50% to 100% is a digital reverb which you can add on top. So like this. And you can access the parameters for this by pressing Menu, making sure that Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure that Kit Modifier is highlighted and press Enter. Making sure that Ambience is highlighted and press Enter. And then you have lots of different parameters which you can change to get the drum sound that you want and make your drums sound fantastic in the room they are. Every single pad or channel of the DTX-PRO module has its own EQ, which is very useful for getting the sound exactly how you want it to be. Let me show you how to access it. If you press the menu button, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Instrument Effect is highlighted and press Enter. And make sure EQ Gain is highlighted and then press Enter. Now on this page, you see three controllers. This is the low gain, the mid gain, and the high gain for the EQ. And I can select one by using F1 and F2. And then if I want to change the gain, I can either turn the knob or I can use the buttons. But if you carry on going down, on the next screen, you can see the actual frequencies for the low, the mid, and the high. And you also have the width of the mid EQ frequency. This can be really, really powerful, and it can really change the character of a drum sound from something you might use to something you really definitely would use. Every single channel or pad on the DTX-PRO module has its own compression, which is incredibly powerful. Let me show you how to access this. If you press the menu button, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted, press Enter. Make sure Instrument Effect is highlighted and press Enter. And make sure Compression is highlighted and then press Enter. Then you can access the compression screen. You can see which instrument you are looking at in the top right-hand corner of the screen. At the moment, it says Tom 3, but if I hit the snare, we are now looking at the compression on the snare channel. On this screen, you can change the compression type, the attack, the release, the threshold, the ratio, and also the output level. Compression is incredibly useful for making the sound exactly how you want it to be. And it can really be very subtle or very, very powerful, depending on what you need to do. It's an incredibly useful effect, and this appears on every single pad or channel on the module. Every pad or channel on the DTX-PRO module has its own insert effect as well. Let me show you how to access this. If you press the menu button, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Instrument Effect is highlighted and press Enter. And make sure Insertion is highlighted and press Enter. Then you can choose the different sorts of effects, and I'm going to go with an analog delay. And on the line below, the insertion depth, and I'm going to turn this up to full. And you can see which instrument you're adding this onto in the top right-hand corner of the screen. So I have, on my snare channel, an analog delay, like this. And remember, you have this on every single pad on the kit. So it really helps to make exactly the kit sound that you want and you need. Every single channel of the DTX-PRO module has its own transient adjustment. Transient adjustment is a very popular effect which can make a massive difference to the sound of your drums in the mix. Let me show you how to access it and how it works. If you press the menu button, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Instrument Effect is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Transient is highlighted and press Enter. Now the top line, Transient Attack, gives your drum sound more bite, more attack. It's very subtle. You'll probably need to use headphones to hear it in its best way, but it can really make a difference in the mix. This is the standard drum sound. And this is with the Transient Attack on full. I'm going to reset that back to 0, and then I'm going to go to the Transient Release. This is the Transient Release on normal, and this is the Transient Release on full. Like I said, it's really subtle, but it can really help with your drum sound in the mix. You can filter every single zone of every single pad totally separately, depending on what your needs are. Let me show you how to do this. If you press the menu button, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Voice is highlighted and press Enter. And then scroll down until you see Voice Filter. Now I'm looking at the snare. And at the moment, if I just turn the controller wheel here, I can filter off all the high end of my snare drum sound. Or if I want to boost the high end, I can turn it the other way. But I also have access to the Q of the filter. So if I come down here, I can change the sound quite dramatically and very quickly and easily. On the DTX-PRO module, you can import your own samples, and you can turn any of those samples into loops. What I mean by loops is something which plays through all the way, and then when it gets to the end, it immediately goes back to the start again and carries on playing until you tell it to stop. So you could make a short musical phrase turn into a loop just by it playing round and round and round until you tell it to stop. Let me show you how to set this up. At the moment, my floor tom does this. It plays the drum loop and then it stops, because that is the length of the sample. But I'm going to make it loop continuously. If I press Menu, make sure Kit Edit is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Voice is highlighted and press Enter. And then scroll all the way down until you see Voice Hold Mode. And I need to turn that to On. Now when I hit the pad, the loop will play round and round and round until I hit the pad again to stop it. How an electronic kit reacts to our playing is a very personal thing, and we need to spend time getting this right so it reacts to our playing correctly. After all, we all use different sticks, we all have been taught in different ways, and we all play in different ways, and we have different styles. So we can't expect one electronic kit to manage all of that. So let's have a look at the triggering. If we press the menu button and go into Trigger, and then go into pad type, the most important setting at the moment is gain. We need to set the gain correctly. This is so when we hit our hardest, the module is receiving the loudest possible signal from the pad. So to do this, and I'm going to use the snare, I'm going to hit my snare, but I'm going to press F3 first. So if I hit my snare nice and hard, you'll see in the top right-hand corner, it says V124, which means the velocity is 124 out of 127. And that means that when I hit my hardest, it's going almost right up to the top. That is exactly where I need it to be. If I need to adjust this up or down, I press the exit button, and I can adjust the gain up or down a little bit, so when I hit my hardest, it goes up to almost 127. So that is setting the gain. Then we need to go down until we see minimum level. And minimum level is the level at which the pad starts to listen to the stick hits, and anything below that it will ignore. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play quietly. I'm going to play my ghost note level, so about this. And then I'm going to bring up the minimum level until you stop hearing my notes. So now we don't hear the note anymore, but I'm going to back this off a little bit just so I can hear my quietest notes. But everything below that will be ignored by the module, which is exactly what we need. So this will ignore vibration through the floor and any other thing. Then we need to press the exit button, and we need to go up to curve. And we press enter, and then we need to adjust the velocity curve. Now, this is the most personal thing of the whole lot. The velocity curve is how quickly the pad goes from very quiet playing to very loud playing. And whether it does it quickly or slowly is completely down to us. And we often need a different velocity curve on every single pad. We prefer bass drums to get loud quickly. We prefer snare drums to get loud a little bit slower. And there is no rules to this. It is completely down to you. So you need to set this to work for you, and whatever feels right is right. Now, we've just done that for the snare pad, but you need to do this for all the other pads, the cymbal pads, the tom pads, the bass drum. So every single pad reacts correctly and feels right for you. When you've done that, you don't need to save it because it's a global setting. So you've set it once inside the module, and that is stored until you change it. Sometimes you might want to adjust the crosstalk of your kit. Crosstalk is entirely natural on an acoustic drum kit. For instance, when you play your bass drum, other instruments might vibrate or resonate at the same time, and this is crosstalk. But on an electronic kit, we have the ability to get rid of this if we don't want it. To do this, press Menu, make sure Trigger is highlighted and press Enter. Make sure Crosstalk is highlighted and press Enter. And then on this screen, we can adjust how all the pads react with each other. And we can make this so the pads respond exactly how we want them to. Using the click on the DTX-PRO module is very simple. Start or stop the click by pressing this button here. Adjust the tempo by turning this knob. Or to get into more functionality, press the click button. Then we have different options. If I press F1, we go into tap tempo mode. Tap tempo mode is where you can play any pad or press F3 and the module will listen to the average of your 4 hits. Then it will display that. So you can tap along to a singer-songwriter or somebody else in the band, and then you can work out what tempo they are singing or playing at, which is very, very useful. It works like this. I'm going to tap Tom 3 4 times, and you'll see the tempo in the screen change. Or I can tap F3. To come out of this, press Exit. And if we press F2, we go into the volume page, where we can change the volume of the different parts of the click, the different subdivisions. But we also have a human voice count. So if I come along to the last slider on the screen and turn it up, we have a human counting.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Which can be very useful for educational situations. But what we can also do is if I press F3, we can get our human count to count a 4-bar phrase like this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4.
Which is very, very useful for measuring a 4-bar phrase when we're playing a groove. If I press Exit and press F3, we can come into other pages. So here we can change the sound of the click, the beat, the timer, so we can set the timer for a certain amount of seconds, maybe 60 seconds, 30 seconds. And then we can also route the click to different places. So I can have the click going to the left and right outputs, the headphone outputs, and the USB output. Or I can turn each one off. So if I want to have the click in my headphones but not going out to the audience, I can do that here very, very simply. So the click is incredibly powerful on the DTX-PRO module. The recorder feature in the DTX-PRO module is incredibly powerful, whether it's for playback, for practice, or for recording yourself in different situations. This is how it works. To access the recorder, just press the recorder button. If you don't have a USB drive in the back of your module, you can record for 90 seconds. If you do, like I've got here, have a USB drive in the back, you can record for up to 90 minutes. To start recording, you simply press F1. Press F1 to stop. Press F3 to save, and press F2 to listen back. But you can also do different things with this. If I go through the audio files that I have on the USB drive, I have one here called track loop. And what I can do with this is I can play back this track and play along with it like this. Which is great for practice, but I can also record myself over the top of it. So if I press play and then I immediately press record, I can record my drums over that track, which is great when you want to make quick and easy recordings. Press F3 to save, and then press F2 to play back. The DTX-PRO module includes 10 training functions, which are new and improved versions of those found in previous DTX. Each one of these functions improves a separate aspect of your playing. They're incredibly powerful and they're also good fun. Let me show you how you access them. If you press the training button on the front of the screen, you can then scroll through the 10 different features. I'm just going to use measure break. In measure break, you can set up a certain amount of bars or measures of click, and then you can also set up a certain amount of bars or measures of silence. And the feature is there to see how you play when the click is not running, like this. Every so often, there will be a firmware or software update for your module. This is how you check to see which version you are running. Press Menu, scroll down so version is showing, and press Enter. This model is running version 1.0. Press F3 when you are happy. But before you do any form of software update, you need to back up all your information. This is how you do it. Come back to the main screen, press Menu, go up to File, and press Enter. Now you're going to save all your data. So make sure that Save is highlighted and press Enter. And you want to make sure you save all. So all has to be highlighted. If it's not, use the plus and minus buttons so it says all. Then you need to name this. So press F2. And I'm going to call it A AB for A backup. Then I'm going to press F2 for OK. And then I'm going to press Save. The module asks me if I'm sure, and if you are, press Yes. And now all the data, all your settings, everything, including your samples, is being backed up onto the USB drive. Wait for that to finish. and then press the exit button to go back to the main screen, and now you can perform your update.